How China Works. I'm Brendan Davis, and you're going to hear from YINGYING Lee in just a second. We are doing this very first show of the new year and the new season in a pretty unconventional way. We're figuring this one out as we go. We are each actually recording our pieces separately of these intros and outros, and we're going to put it together in the edit, but we've been talking by phone. Our travel schedules are such that this is the easiest way to do it. So what we're going to do is we actually have a very abbreviated first show. What we're going to do is actually play you some messages from people who responded. We put out something on our social media, both of us individually as well as the shared ones, and said, hey, please, if you have a chance, send us your thoughts about what you're looking for in 2019. And we got some really great responses. I'm going to play this first one here from Kevin Geiger, who's going to introduce himself, as I recall.
This is Kevin Geiger. I'm a producer living and working in Beijing. Two things come to mind for China in 2019, and these are both related to the issue of balance. Internationally, China continues to assert itself on the world stage, while America seems hell-bent on retreating. However, America's national pride won't permit it to accept the notion of being number two in any respect. So I think the dysfunctional codependency between China and America will be a huge factor for everybody in 2019. Domestically, China faces a day of reckoning between its warp-speed tech development and the need to keep its enormous population happily employed. Artificial intelligence, automation, other advances will produce a massive social economic shift in a country where most people still lack higher education. So let's hope China's ready for it. Let's hope the world's ready for it. Cheers. Happy 2019.
All right. Thank you, Kevin, for that. I have to say that I very much agree with the broad point about the U.S.-China relationship being the biggest topic of 2019. I think almost any way you cut it. In terms of his point regarding China's facing the rise of AI, et cetera, versus the education levels and the population demands, and the I think that sounds like a big one as well. And there are a lot of stories that I'm curious about that are related to that in different ways. A lot of them are these tech stories that our friends over at TechNode and those different podcasts cover really nicely. Next up, we have my friend Kyle Mullen. Kyle is the deputy managing editor at the Beijinger, and let's hear what he has to say.
I think there's going to be so many big stories in the coming year, and probably for many years in the foreseeable future, related to China and world news, just because of obviously how much of a bigger player it's becoming. Well, it already is, and how increasingly it's becoming a bigger player economically and geopolitically and things like that. So it's tough to say, but I think that one fascinating thing is how the trade war might play out in other areas in business in kind of peculiar ways and funny ways. Like, for example, I saw an article recently about how Luckin Coffee, if I'm pronouncing that right, domestic Chinese coffee brand, how they're opening cafes at a exponential rate all over the country and can hardly keep up with the demand, and that they were able to open a location in the Forbidden City or near the Forbidden City. I should check on that detail. And that was funny because Starbucks got kicked out of that location as an American brand before that. So just the preferential treatment of domestic products, maybe the surge in domestic products like Huawei smartphones in comparison to Apple phones. If there's going to be dramatic shifts like that in terms of user preference, in terms of treatment, by the government, I would be really interested to see how a lot of that stuff plays out.
All right, thanks a lot, Kyle. We'll have more to say about this at the end of the episode when we wrap everything up. But first, let's hear from YINGYING Lee and see who she has in her inbox this week.
Thanks, Brendan. Hey, dear How China Works listeners. Excited to introduce our first show of 2019. We hope you had a great holiday and the year is off to a great start. I am your host, YINGYING Lee. And actually, I'm in Bangkok right now, having lots of culture shocks, but overall amazing place. And Brendan is right now in Los Angeles. Like he mentioned, we're doing this season of show differently. We have our first guest, our cross-cultural expert, next week. But we wanted to set the season up with a little listener interaction. So I'm gonna share a few What I've collected hopefully can trigger you, my dear audience who are listening, some interesting thoughts. So here we have Shubha Kung, with his Chinese name here is Hafiz from Pakistan. He is now a PhD economic student in Shandong University. He has a message for us.
The year 2019 will be very crucial for the famous Belt and Road Initiative, and it will be seeing that how China treats Pakistan, because Pakistan and China has got into that CPEC thing called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So let's see this year that if China honors its commitment towards Pakistan, because the loan amount is soaring in, all the debt it's soaring in, and it's raising up to the remarkable level. So let's see that if Pakistan is being able to honor its commitment on its side, and how China treats it's one of the major regional friends. Thank you.
And concerns about China's One Belt One Road initiative have always been there since it's first introduced to the world. However, Hafiz went ahead to provide his thoughts on how to fight this kind of fear and challenges in 2019 regarding the issue he mentioned. So if you are a China watcher or interested in the Belt Road initiatives and want to learn more, engage more, Hafiz, in our eyes, could provide a great example to follow. Quoting him, in order to promote the construction of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor CPEC in the new era, China needs to give a full play to the important role of the government and enterprises as well as other social sectors. China needs to improve the risk prevention and control countermeasures, safeguards its interest in Pakistan, and build a multi-tiered security network. In addition, China also needs to improve the planning and operation capabilities of enterprises to conform to the development of the CPEC and the enhancement of the corporate interests, strengthen China-Pakistan scientific and academic exchanges, and cultivate an intellectual-based mechanism to bolster high-level academic exchanges conducive to the CPEC construction, joint research in key fields, and the sharing of relevant knowledge and information. Well done! Now, let's shift gears a little bit. Listen to a friend of mine, Tina Xue, who works at Baidu as a strategist.
I guess my question is, in this coming new year, how would China cope with the outside world? Because we know that in 2018, there were growing tension between China and especially U.S. So I really want to know, how would the political dynamics affect Chinese companies, Chinese students studying abroad, Chinese people working and living abroad? So any advice for Chinese people in the United States? How should they really cope with the tension between the two countries?
Wow, this is actually a billion-dollar question. Anyone who follows our How China Works podcast season 1 would feel how important it is between China and the US to have harmonious relationships. There are probably a zillion types of discussion out there today. And here, I have some thoughts. Maybe we could try the following 16 character keys. First one, 入乡随俗. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. This has been increasingly important. What do I mean by that? No matter who you are, studying or working in the US, student or young professionals, or doing cross-border business, follow the law and regulation. Follow the law and regulation. Follow the law and regulation. When it comes to the important matters, we say 3 times. 重要的事说3遍. Because this is also a way to earn trust and respect cross-culturally. Second one, 兼听则明. To listen to both sides and you will be enlightened, especially in today's ever magical media environment. Third one, 顺其自然. Let nature take its course. Do not get over anxious. This is much embraced in Buddhism. I kind of feel it that way these days, especially in Bangkok. The fourth one, 争其必然. Fight for what you deserve and are necessary to have. The health of China and U.S. relationship is dependent on each of us. The world-famous John Kennedy speech inspired children and adults to see the importance of civic action and public service. His historical words, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, challenged every American to contribute in some way to the public good. Putting his words in today's China, especially among next generation Chinese who need to hear, ask not what China can do for you, ask what you can do for China and its future. And I will go ahead to add one more layer. For foreigners who love or criticize China, ask not what China can do for you. Ask what change or impact that you can make to help China be better. A better future lies in our own hands.
All right, thanks a lot, Yingying, and thank you to everybody listening. We appreciate you being with us here for the start of Season 2. And as Yingying said, we will be back next week with our first full interview show. We have Professor Carrie Brown coming to us from London. It was quite a talk, and we're really excited to kick off Season 2 this way. For now, thanks again. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.